Revealed, Italian Mafia boss makes incredible offer to woman walking 5 miles for a job interview. Maria clenched her jaw as she navigated through the litter-strewn sidewalks of her gritty New Jersey town. Every step felt heavy with doubt, the cold air biting at her determination. She was on her way to a job interview at the local clinic, a stepping stone to her dream of becoming a nurse. But with 2 children at home, each footfall reminded her of the responsibilities weighing her down: bills, food, and school. A mere 5 miles stretched before her, yet it felt like a marathon. As she walked, memories flickered in her mind, a kaleidoscope of her Italian heritage. Her grandmother's sharp voice recounted tales of sacrifice while her father's stern work ethic echoed in her ears. Hard work pays off, he often said, but the reality was suffocated by a mind-numbing cycle of low-wage jobs. Maria rubbed her temples, brow furrowed with worry. Did she have the strength to pursue this dream? What if she failed? These questions gnawed at her, each one amplifying the sting in her chest. Halfway through her journey, a sharp laugh pierced through her thoughts. She turned to see Tommy leaning against a brick wall, an aura of danger swirling around him like smoke. He was trouble personified, a notorious mafia boss with a reputation that made people tremble. But there was something magnetic about him, a flicker of intrigue mixed with danger that pulled at her. He locked eyes with her, and for a brief moment, the world fell away. "Hey, Maria," he called out, voice smooth like silk, "you look like you could use a break." Her heart raced as she approached. "I'm fine." Her tone was defensive, but she knew what he represented. Tommy's reputation preceded him, but his gaze held an unsettling allure. "Listen," he said, an undeniable intensity shimmering in his eyes, "I can sway the hiring practices at that clinic of yours. Get you the job, no sweat." Maria inhaled sharply, feeling the ground beneath her shift. "What's the catch?" she challenged, fighting the creeping hope that tugged at her heartstrings. This offer could change everything, but at what cost? Tommy grinned, and the shadows of the alley enveloped them, amplifying her anxiety. "Just a little favor in return. Nothing too sticky, you won't regret it." Her mind raced. How could she even think about accepting help from someone like him? The moral fibers of her being screamed for her to walk away, yet the desperation for a better life tugged at her resolve. Could she afford to disregard this chance? Before she could grapple with the whirlwind of thoughts, her phone buzzed in her pocket, shattering the tight grip of uncertainty. It was a text from her sister, a family crisis brewing back home, something that demanded her immediate attention and care. Panic surged as she read, the weight of obligations tightening around her like chains. Could she leave her family's issues unresolved in pursuit of something that might not even secure her future? The contrast between ambition and loyalty tore at her heart, amplifying the internal war waging within her. The stakes felt impossibly high, the air heavy with the weight of her choices. As she stood there, teetering between his seductive offer and her fierce loyalty, she wrestled with a tempest of emotions: excitement, fear, shame. What would be the true cost of ambition if it meant sullied morals? This moment of decision hummed in the stillness, a silent scream echoing her internal conflict. With every ticking second, the urgency mounted. Would she really betray her values for a shot at a dream? Her breath caught as she considered the implications, the decision looming overhead like a storm cloud. Flashes of her children's faces danced in her mind. What kind of mother would she be if she sold her soul for success? With a fierce determination, she took a step back, but the path ahead remained obscured by uncertainty. Each pounding heartbeat urged her to choose a side, yet she hesitated, gripped by anguish, standing helplessly at a defining crossroads. The swirling storm inside her demanded resolution, leaving her fraught with the question of what she truly valued. In this moment, she realized, everything she carried: ambition, family, integrity hung delicately in the balance, unresolved, as the weight of aspiration and doubt clung to her every breath. Maria felt the world around her fade as she stood at the mouth of the alley, caught in the web of uncertainty spun by Tommy's offer. Her heart raced, the echo of her children's laughter contrasting sharply with the reality of her predicament. Balancing the dreams of a better life against the dark allure of what Tommy represented was a battle she hadn't anticipated. The pressure of her familial obligations weighed heavily on her shoulders, yet the flicker of hope sparked by the prospect of a job lingered like a small flame in her chest. In the throes of her conflict, she remembered those late nights spent studying for her nursing entrance exam, the strain etched across her face as she tried to carve a path to a better future for her children. That hope swelled and cracked against the harsh edges of reality, surrounding her with a suffocating confusion. Maria blinked hard, forcing herself to focus. "Why would you help me?" she demanded, trying to pierce through the smooth exterior Tommy maintained. "What's in it for you?" His smile widened, revealing the sharpness of his ambition. "People like us. We aren't so different. Everyone needs a break sometime, right?" A shiver ran up her spine as the implications of his words settled in. Did her ambition align her with his world in some way? Was there a thread of fate drawing her into shadowy territory? She swallowed, her throat dry. Without waiting for her to respond, Tommy stepped closer, the intensity of his gaze anchoring her thoughts. "Think about it, Maria. You deserve a chance. I'm offering a way out of this grind. You could make more than you ever have cleaning up after people. You could save lives." Maria's pulse quickened. She had poured herself into the study of nursing, her nights filled with dreams of saving lives, caring for the vulnerable. The compassion she felt surged within her, conflicting violently with the knowledge that prevalence in any job beyond her current station often alluded to moral compromises. Why not choose the honest route? Maria challenged, a sudden boldness lending strength to her voice. Why does it have to be this way? Tommy's eyes narrowed appreciatively. There's no such thing as honest when the stakes are this high. You think you can waltz into that clinic and land a job just because you studied? It doesn't work like that. Everyone has to eat, and my way. It ensures you get what you want. The shadows loomed closer. The duality of her desire for a stable future clashed with her meeting a figure who personified everything she abhorred yet found herself inexplicably drawn to. Would crossing this unseen line promise security or lifelong regret? The walls of her morality trembled, and she felt unmoored. Could she trust her instincts against the crushing weight of need? A quiet determination hardened in her resolve. As much as ambition called, she had to tether herself firmly to the guidelines of who she wanted to be as an aspiring nurse, a mother, a woman of integrity. The urgency of the text from her sister haunted her still, demanding she return to those familial needs looming over her like a hurricane. Taking a step back, she felt the world reorient itself, grounding her once again. "Thank you, but I'll figure this out on my own," she murmured, the words tasting bittersweet on her tongue. Tommy raised an eyebrow, a flicker of surprise crossing his features. "You'll regret this," he said, but his tone had shifted now, laced with curiosity rather than threat. As she turned away, the decision surged through her. It was time to confront the challenges at home, and to continue her pursuit for a future built on her own terms, one that granted respect without compromise. Setting her sights back on the road ahead, something in her gut twisted in anticipation of the struggles yet to come. But she also felt a burgeoning resolve, an ember that promised to spark her journey in ways she hadn't yet imagined. With each step, she reaffirmed her commitment to navigate her own path. As she entered the distance once again, a thought lingered: what if her refusal to compromise led her to uncover hidden strengths she never knew existed? Little did she know, fate was still woven intricately into the fabric of her story, just lurking in the shadows, waiting for that moment when it was ready to unfold its deeper secrets. Would she be prepared for the next challenge that awaited her? Maria's footsteps echoed on the pavement as she navigated the streets that had felt so familiar, yet somehow foreign in their urgency. The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows that painted her journey with uncertainty. With each step, she recalibrated her resolve, feeling both the weight of her family's needs and the gravitational pull of her ambitions. She clutched her phone tightly, the message from her sister replaying in her mind. Maria, we need help. Mom is getting worse, and her payments are due. The exhaustion in her sister's words was palpable, a reminder of the gravity of her dual responsibilities as a caregiver and a dreamer. Consideration of her mother's health gnawed at her, propelling her toward a solution, yet an overwhelming fear lurked at the edges of her thoughts. What if she failed? What if her aspirations were just that, dreams, forever out of reach? As she neared her apartment, a fleeting thought danced through her mind. Could there be another path? She had spent countless nights enveloped in textbooks, deciphering medical terminology and practicing clinical scenarios. The knowledge swirled within her, yet now, it felt like an anchor instead of wings. Deciding against going home just yet, she entered a nearby cafe, its warm glow and the scent of espresso like a beacon of comfort. Maria took a seat by the window, pulling out her notes from nursing school. She spread them across the table, scanning over the life-saving techniques she decommitted to memory. Deep in thought, she subconsciously noted the shy barista, a student working behind the counter. Perhaps he was juggling his own struggles like her with the future. "What are you studying?" he asked, his voice curious yet hesitant, drawing her out from her internal spiral. "Nursing," Maria replied, surprised at how easily the words flew from her lips. They held weight, a testament to her determination. His brow furrowed. "That's tough. I've heard it's a lot of pressure." "It is. But I want to make a difference," she found herself saying, feeling the truth resonate. "I want to save lives." He nodded understandingly, but the empathy in his eyes sparked something deeper within Maria. The yearning she felt for her ambition to not only thrive but also bring comfort to others began to ignite a decision. Maybe this cafe wasn't just a pit stop, it could serve as a launch pad for her next step, whatever that may be. As she sipped the bittersweet coffee, a plan began to form in her mind. Instead of solely focusing on traditional paths and waiting for doors to open, maybe she could take what she had learned and apply it differently. There were communities that needed support, outreach programs that could utilize her knowledge, and patients in desperate situations who needed someone with skills just like hers. "Would you like to apply?" she asked the barista, surprising herself, as he returned into the freeness of their conversation. "To help people?" His face lit up, revealing an enthusiasm she hadn't anticipated. "I've thought about volunteering, but I don't know where to start." "Neither do I," she admitted, a laughter escaping them both. "But maybe we can learn together. We can help each other." As they discussed potential community outreach initiatives, Maria felt her heart tethering itself to a shared vision. A chance to explore nursing beyond a conventional setting, a grassroots mission that could channel both her yearning to help and her own professional aspirations suddenly opened up before her. With each idea they bounced around, the shadows began to lift. Maria found herself re-energized, each concept igniting a new strand of ambition in her mind. It became evident that Tommy's offer was just one of many paths and perhaps not the best one. What if she could build something from scratch, something that echoed her true purpose? As the sun fully set, the cafe transformed into a cozy cocoon, full of possibilities. Maria exchanged contact information with the barista, optimism bubbling between them like the coffee that had brought them together. When she returned home, a newfound determination swirled within her. However, just as she stepped through her door, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "I see you've made a choice, Maria. Are you sure you want to turn your back on opportunity?" Her stomach dropped. How had he found her? The shadows were not yet done with her, and the stakes had just become far more complex. Would she be able to navigate her newfound ambition without being swept back into the tangled web of Tommy's world? Maria stood frozen in the doorway, her heart pounding against her ribs like a frantic drum. The text loomed in her mind, echoing ominously. "Turn your back on opportunity." What did that even mean? She had spent so long chasing the definition of success, yet now, confronted with this cryptic message, doubt seeped in. With trembling fingers, she typed a response, then hesitated. Should she engage, or let it go? Her rationale pushed her to disengage, but the underlying question haunted her: was she truly turning her back on opportunities? Or was she simply redefining what an opportunity looked like for someone like her? The walls of her apartment felt stifling. She glanced at her nursing books strewn about, each symbolizing a path that seemed equally weighted with promise and peril. Instead of scrambling for answers, she settled into her desk chair, trying to tap into her chaotic thoughts. Perhaps this was a moment to reflect rather than react. Maria opened her notebook, the pages filled with project ideas and suggestions she had noted during her brainstorming with the barista. Constructing a nursing outreach initiative could fundamentally change her relationship with her role in healthcare. It wasn't just about treating patients anymore, it was about fostering a community of healing, engagement, and education. She envisioned herself leading a team, advocating for those who couldn't advocate for themselves. There had to be ways to provide assistance without relying solely on hospitals or clinics. The thought energized her, pushing the shadows of doubt into an obscure corner of her mind. An initiative where she could provide at-home services or health workshops, anything to make her sketch of an idea into a concrete reality. Her boldness surged as she scribbled plans for a meeting with local health organizations, potential partnerships brewing in her imagination. She could even bring the barista on board, leveraging his connection with the community. Their collaborative spirits could attract others who shared a similar drive to help. But would that be enough? She switched her focus back to the text. Experiencing that momentary spark of potential took on a somber reality once again. Was Tommy connected to this text? He had always been just a phone call away, brimming with his own ambitions but steeped in shadowy dealings. A sudden ringing echoed in the silence of her apartment. It was her sister. Relief momentarily pushed aside the tension, wrapping her in a shoulder of comfort. "Maria, I need to talk. It's about Mom." Listening to her sister's troubles, a wave of understanding washed over her. This dual weight she carried drew tighter, revealing cracks of vulnerability that could just as easily shatter her internal resolve. "I'm here," she reassured, both of them seeking solace in the familiar cadence of their sibling bond. As they assessed their mother's worsening condition together, Maria couldn't avoid reflecting on her own plight. Each detail her sister shared expanded her growing concerns. Was she ready to dive into a community initiative when her family needed her most? Counterbalancing her ambition with familial duty sent her thoughts into a spiral, one that implied sacrificing her vision was still an option. Yet, the phone buzzed again, dismantling her thoughts like a clattering game of dominoes. Another message from the unknown number: "You think you can be a savior? You should reconsider. The opportunities one could provide are limitless." The cold chill ignited a fire of determination deep within her. The urgency of her own aspirations collided with her responsibilities, and there in the middle, rage nestled itself as a source of motivation. This was no longer about a choice between dreams and family, it was an assertion of her will against someone trying to manipulate her. "Who do you think you are?" she whispered to the screen, now feeling a stubborn resolve forming in her chest. She would confront both the unknown threats and the pressures of her family head-on. What she envisioned: the care initiatives, the outreach. This was the combination of everything she was fighting for. As her fingers typed a response demanding clarity and stating her intent, she felt a shift. Each word imbued her with something fierce. This was no longer just a game for someone on the sidelines, she was stepping into the fray. The message sent, she exhaled deeply, feeling each breath illuminate her path with clarity. Maria's world was about to accelerate. But would she be able to manage the oncoming storm alone, or would the very foundations she sought to build be threatened before they even took shape? The horizon loomed ahead, and she knew the next steps would test her resolve in ways she had yet to fathom. Maria couldn't shake the feeling that the stakes had been raised. Each ping of her phone echoed through the quiet apartment, a reminder of both connection and looming threat. The message was there, pulsating with menacing energy, and her response had set off a chain reaction she couldn't quite comprehend. There was something deeper hidden beneath the surface of the words that demanded she consider her next move carefully. How would she respond to the unknown figure challenging her ambitions? She paced the small living space, her thoughts weaving in and out like the soft light filtering through the window. Each step felt heavier as she weighed the option of calling her sister back. But calling might detract from the clarity she felt bubbling up inside her. No, this was about clarity taking definitive control of her life. With renewed determination, she sat back down at her desk. No more enigmatic threats or vague implications, clarity was what she needed now. She opened her notebook again, scanning her hastily scribbled notes on potential initiatives. The ideas leapt off the page and clung to her mind like vivid memories. Each person she could help, each program she could run, built a narrative that was hers alone. She grabbed a pen and started outlining a proposal for a grassroots health initiative, one that encompassed everything she aspired to be. Workshops on nutrition, free health consultations in local parks, partnerships with nearby community organizations. The more she wrote, the more vibrant her vision became. She could lead, inspire, and enact real change. But would she have the support needed to silence the whispers of doubt? Just as she jotted down notes for a potential outreach meeting, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a number she recognized, her old mentor from nursing school. Janet had been a guiding force in Maria's early career, someone who always encouraged her to push boundaries. "Hey, Maria. I saw your last post on social media about wanting to do more in the community. Can we catch up?" Her heart raced at the prospect of talking to someone who understood her struggles and aspirations. Of course, she typed quickly, the excitement evident in her words. This was it. This was her opportunity to forge a network around her ambitions. They arranged to meet at a cafe the following day. Maria spent the evening sketching out a plan for their conversation, housing her doubts and strategic thoughts in a neatly organized format. What would she say if Janet asked her about her plans? Could she articulate her vision clearly enough to gain a mentor's endorsement? The next morning dawned bright, yet the weight of uncertainty loomed large as she dressed. Would Janet see her as someone with potential, or would she view her tumultuous aspirations as reckless? It didn't matter, Maria needed to believe in her journey, now more than ever. She had to prove to herself that this was right. When she arrived at the cafe, her palms were clammy, but the scent of freshly brewed coffee ignited resolve within her. Janet was already there, her expression warm yet probing. They exchanged pleasantries before Maria dove headfirst into her plans. As she articulated her ideas, she realized she had internalized every detail, crafting each part of her approach with heart. Janet listened intently, asking probing questions, guiding Maria through a mental labyrinth of possibility and challenge. But as the discussion deepened, Maria sensed an undercurrent in Janet's tone whenever they veered toward the potential partnership with local health organizations. "I understand the idea of outreach, but many organizations are wary of being involved with someone they perceive as inexperienced or unconnected. You need a support system, someone to help you navigate those waters." Maria pondered this, feeling the shadows of doubt creep back in, but Janet continued, "Just remember, opportunities often look different than we expect. They can come from the most unlikely places." Before they parted, Janet offered a piece of insight that struck like an alarm bell. "There's always a risk in taking a stand. But there's also the risk of fading away unnoticed." After a long discussion, Maria returned home, invigorated yet unsettled. It was clear now, forging her path wouldn't come without sacrifice and confrontation, especially now that she stood at the precipice of something significant. As she sat back at her desk, ready to transform her vision into reality, another message lit up her screen, this time from the unknown number. "I see you're gathering support. You should reconsider that approach. I know people who wouldn't take kindly to betrayal." The fire within flared once more, but this time, Maria was ready. How far would they go to undermine her dreams? The landscape was shifting, and she felt compelled to push back against the darkness closing in around her goals. The words of her mentor echoed in her mind even as her thumb hovered over her screen, contemplating her next response. She would not be deterred, whatever faced her ahead, it was time to confront the reality of her ambition. But in this battle against hesitation, who would remain standing when the dust settled? Would she uncover the allies or enemies lurking in the shadows before the darkness swallowed her whole? The phone lay still on the desk, the message lingering ominously in the back of Maria's mind. She took a deep breath, trying to sift through her rising anxiety. What did they know? Who were they? With her heart pounding, she resolved to redirect her energy into her aspirations instead of yielding to fear. She stood up, stretching her arms above her head as a small ritual to shake off the tension. Moving back to her desk, she grabbed her notebook and stared at the list of initiatives she had begun to outline. This was where her focus needed to be. She was done being reactive, it was time to be proactive. Maria began writing a list of potential allies and the community people she could reach out to for support, mentors who would share their guidance. There was strength in a network, and she needed to create one. How many of them had faced similar challenges? Who among them could provide insights into navigating obstacles? Flipping to a fresh page, she crafted an email to Janet. She needed to reconnect and propose they collaborate beyond their initial conversation. Janet had connections. All the can't-go-wrong checklists faded away, she was going to appeal to Janet's sense of adventure and willingness to mentor her. After a few rewrites, the email took form. Dear Janet, thank you for meeting with me yesterday. I truly appreciate your insights as I navigate this crucial juncture in my career. I was thinking about our conversation regarding support systems and partnerships. I believe we could cultivate something meaningful together. Your experience and my drive could lead to impactful change in our community. I'd love to brainstorm ideas on how to leverage our strengths and reach out to organizations that might prove skeptical. Looking forward to hearing from you soon. Warm regards. Maria. Hitting send felt liberating, it opened up a new channel for collaboration. Yet, deep within, a voice of doubt whispered, what if Janet didn't see the potential? Maria pushed it aside, reminding herself that her vision was not solely dependent on another's perception. The importance lay in execution and passion. As hours passed, Maria found herself pacing again, contemplating how to build the grassroots initiative without the immediate backing. The email was a step forward, but she still needed to sharpen her proposal and gather more comprehensive information about local health organizations. Research became her refuge. Days blended together as she descended further into the depths of local health statistics, demographic reports, and community needs assessments. She intended to craft a proposal that aligned with the actual needs of those she aimed to serve, a plan not just based on idealism but on tangible evidence. Each statistic reinforced her belief in her vision, feeding her desire to step into this uncertain realm where systemic challenges existed yet could be dismantled. Still, uncertainty emerged. Could she truly navigate this world? As she pieced the proposal together, her gut twisted. The fear of inadequacy loomed large, taunting her with the specter of failure. Would others believe in her as much as she believed in her dream? Maria slammed her book closed in frustration, the sound reverberating through the apartment. Doubt crept in, but remembering Janet's words, another part of her fought back. There's always risk in taking a stand. There was also courage in confronting the future instead of shying away from it. Then, without warning, her phone buzzed, startling her from her thoughts. It was a response from Janet. The excitement surged as she opened the message, only to feel her heart drop at its content. Let's meet again tomorrow if you're available. I've been thinking. The uncertainty circled back like a phantom at her door. What did she want to discuss? Would it be supportive, or was there a twist ahead? Instinctively, she felt drawn to interpret this invitation carefully. Determined not to crumble under the weight of potential disappointment, she sent an affirmative response. However, as she typed, the allure of the unknown swelled. In every moment of clarity, her instincts told her one thing: it was time to confront the shadows that hovered just out of reach. The next day could prove pivotal. Who was she willing to confront? Her dreams, her doubts, or deeper forces that might be waiting to challenge her ambition? Maria felt an electric current running through her veins, a hint of fear but also an undeniable urge to push through. She would face whatever came next, but she hoped to stand firm in knowing her own worth. Yet how deeply would the conversation with Janet cut? Would it empower her dreams or send her spiraling back into the shadows of hesitation? Maria paced the room, her thoughts racing with the implications of her upcoming meeting with Janet. She felt that familiar knot of anticipation and anxiety tightening in her stomach. What questions would Janet ask? Would she view Maria's project as ambitious or naive? This could be a defining moment, the chance to carve out a path that was entirely her own, but with that opportunity came the weight of vulnerability. She decided to prepare herself mentally. Taking a deep breath, Maria attempted to envision the conversation from different angles. Maybe Janet had reservations about the feasibility of her plans. Perhaps she would encourage Maria to adjust her approach, structuring parts of her proposal in a way that made it more palatable to skeptics. What could she say to inspire confidence in her vision? As she scribbled down potential questions to consider, Maria reflected on her earlier doubts. Was this project truly worth pursuing? The statistics and assessments had painted a picture of need, but could she really make a difference? That internal dialogue echoed warnings she'd heard countless times before: people like her don't succeed in this world without a solid backing. Closing her eyes, she shook her head and banished these thoughts. It was crucial to recognize her growing competence. She had spent endless nights gathering data, drawing insights, and conceptualizing her initiative. Why shouldn't she trust that work had equipped her with the foundational knowledge to engage productively in this meeting? Maria drew out the notebook filled with her research, flipping through the pages. Each sheet, each graph spoke of resolve, a reminder that her competency was real. She understood the space she aimed to occupy. The fear of failure could be transformed into a powerful motivator, a tool through which she could harness her passion. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm glow across her workspace, and for the first time that day, she felt the stirrings of excitement rather than dread. She opened a blank page and began to pen down her core message. I am passionate about making a change. This initiative isn't merely about health services, it's about access, understanding, and empowerment. I want to begin a dialogue that leads to actual change. I don't just want to participate, I want to lead. Anticipation mingled with her newfound conviction as she prepared to articulate her thoughts effectively. The universe of opportunity stretched before her, and she wondered how Janet might respond to this personal initiative. Would this be a chance to learn from Janet's seasoned perspective? Or could it be the first step toward her becoming a professional force to be reckoned with? And as the time approached for the meeting, Maria felt one last ripple of uncertainty wash over her. What was it she truly wanted from this conversation? Was it validation, or was it clarity on the path she should forge? When the time came, she stepped into the cafe to meet Janet, her pulse quickening. The smell of fresh coffee mingled with the scent of baked goods created a warm, inviting atmosphere, an odd yet comforting juxtaposition to the tension coiling inside her. Janet sat at a corner table, a thoughtful look on her face as Maria approached. Her heart raced. This was the moment. However, as she settled across from Janet, she couldn't shake the feeling that something unexpected loomed just beyond the veil of civility. Maria, Janet began, I've been reflecting on your vision and I have some ideas that might push us in a different direction. With those words, the challenge was posed, and Maria would soon discover if the advice stemmed from genuine support or if it was the beginning of a confrontation she hadn't anticipated. As she nodded, preparing to absorb whatever came next, she couldn't help but wonder, was she ready to challenge not only the doubts posed by others but also the ones she's held deep within? Maria's breath caught as she heard the cryptic pitch Daniel floated before her. It felt as if she were standing at the edge of a diving board, looking down into unknown depths. What lay beneath the surface of Janet's invitation? Let us start with what you currently have, Janet suggested, her practiced tone wavering just a touch, betraying a hint of uncertainty. Maria pulled out her carefully arranged proposal, each page meticulously crafted under the glow of her desk lamp. As she began to explain her concept, highlighting the innovative approach she believed could disrupt the existing health landscape, she felt both empowered and disarmed. Janet listened intently, nodding at intervals, but Maria could sense a simmering tension. When the presentation concluded, she leaned back in her chair, awaiting Janet's feedback. Instead of praise or constructive criticism, Janet's eyes narrowed. "Your vision is commendable, but to be honest, it feels a bit utopian. Do you think you might be setting yourself up for disappointment?" Those words descended upon Maria like a cold splash of water. There it was, the first obstacle against her aspirations. "I believe in the possibility of making a tangible impact," she countered, her voice steady despite the quaking certainty she felt within. "This isn't merely theory, it's based on my analysis of real-world needs." Janet raised an eyebrow, her expression somewhat amused. "But it's essential to be pragmatic," she said, her tone shifting to a more serious register. "What frameworks are you considering to troubleshoot the inevitable setbacks you will face?" A ripple of frustration coursed through Maria. It was the same skepticism she'd faced before, an unyielding barrier grounded in practicality that threatened to extinguish her ambition. But today, armed with newfound confidence, she recentered her focus. Maria took a moment to articulate her plans for navigating obstacles, demonstrating both foresight and adaptability. As she outlined her strategies, contingency plans, potential partnerships, and phases of implementation, she felt a renewed strength surging through her. The more she spoke, the clearer her conviction became: this pathway was not just possible but necessary. Janet leaned forward, her tone sharpening. "Impressive, but still too theoretical. What makes you believe you can lead this initiative? Do you have the experience required?" The question hit harder than she anticipated, stirring up echoes of her self-doubt. In that instant, Maria recognized the choice laid before her: either cower in the shadows of her inexperience or harness her journey as an asset. "I may not have led a large project yet, but I've cultivated a wealth of knowledge and skills in every role I've stepped into. My experiences have shaped me into a resilient individual capable of leading a project of this scale." Janet's eyes searched Maria's face, assessing her with newfound intensity. "You speak as though you're ready, yet I can still see that flicker of uncertainty. There's power in acknowledging your limits, you know." "Then let us explore those limits," Maria challenged, emboldened by her resolve. "I want to understand what skills I need to refine and how I can develop my leadership capacity." This dialogue should serve as a mentorship. Janet's expression shifted to one of intrigue. "Are you prepared to face not only the challenges I raise but also your inner doubts?" With her heart pounding and clenched fists resting on the table, Maria nodded. The implications of her words began to surface, and the radiant dream she envisioned now felt decidedly more attainable. The conversation evolved into a tactical exchange. Maria felt herself stepping into a new realm of presence. As they dissected the foundation of her project further, answering Janet's probing questions began to unfurl a deeper understanding of her own mission. Yet, amid the exchange of ideas, something nagged at the edge of her consciousness. Janet's probing felt intentional, like a sparring match designed to illuminate every shadowed corner of her psyche. And as the meeting drew closer to its conclusion, a question bubbled to the surface of Maria's mind like a specter reaching for her: was she courageous enough to confront the possibility of failure in pursuit of her dream, and what did that fear truly mean? Janet observed Maria as if gauging the metal of a flame flickering before the wind. As their discussion wound down, a new notion crossed Maria's mind that could change everything. What if, instead of waiting for permission to lead, I crafted the opportunity one need? Janet smiled, a glimmer of challenge in her eyes. That's the kind of thought I can work with, Maria. Now let us see how committed you are to that idea. A plan was beginning to take shape, one that steered toward either discovery or heartbreak. With anticipation tightening in her throat, Maria understood it was time to push boundaries not only within the project but within herself. The stakes just rose higher. What uncharted territory would lie ahead if she dared to take that leap? The following morning, Maria woke with a mixture of excitement and anxiety swirling within her. Janet's challenge and her own audacious idea echoed in her mind, igniting a fire she had not felt in years. She sat up in bed, the sun streaming through her window, and decided today would be the start of something transformative. After pouring herself a steaming cup of coffee, she opened her laptop, ready to lay the groundwork for her vision. She queued up a fresh document, her fingertips hovering above the keys. The notion of crafting her own opportunity hung vividly in her thoughts, crystallizing into a tangible plan that combined her skills and aspirations. But as she began typing, doubts tentatively crept back. What if her ambition only led to failure? Maria shook her head, dispelling the negativity like clouds dispersing in a brightening sky. She reminded herself of her commitment to growth, the realization that every misstep could reveal lessons essential for her evolution. She spent the next few hours outlining a framework for her initiative, detailing potential targets for partnerships within the health sector, local organizations that shared her vision, and ways she could leverage her network. The excitement bubbled through her, and each idea felt like a step closer to breaking free of the confines of her current role. But almost instinctively, she paused to consider the formidable opponent looming in the back of her mind, her lack of experience. Could naive enthusiasm fill the gaps where knowledge might be lacking? Should she seek mentors beyond Janet? The thought sparked a new urgency. She needed to curate her own advisory board, individuals who could offer contrasting perspectives, challenge her assumptions, and bolster her burgeoning project. With clarity, she jotted down names of potential mentors, reflecting on who might align with her vision and contribute valuable insights. The process felt oddly liberating. It shifted her focus from self-doubt to the thrill of connecting with some of the industry's most in-the-know figures. A flood of possibilities washed over her. Collaborations could transform the project into something exponentially greater. However, as her mind raced with creativity, Maria knew the challenge wouldn't come solely from seeking out connections. She also needed to confront her fears head-on. The possibility of failure was a specter that loomed large. What if her venture fell short? Would it tarnish her reputation? Shaking again, she found herself oscillating between ambition and apprehension. Enough, she murmured sternly to herself. Failure was a part of every attempt. It was a teacher that would shape her journey. She took a deep breath, finding solace in the thought, embracing vulnerability was a prerequisite for authentic growth. With newfound determination, she scheduled coffee meetings with her chosen advisors. Each interaction would be an opportunity to refine her ideas, broaden her understanding, and boost her confidence in leading a project that could resonate in the health landscape. Yet, amid this rush of optimism, a nagging thought pierced through: was she truly prepared for the scrutiny these accomplished individuals might lay upon her? Days passed as Maria prepared for her meetings, feeling the weight of anticipation morph into palpable courage. Each conversation served as a reflection not just of her ideas, but of her evolving identity. She connected with a former director of a health startup, a logistics expert, and even a seasoned strategist with decades of experience. They exposed her to potential avenues she had not considered, broadening her scope exponentially. Yet with each exhilarating exchange, she also confronted the truth that feeling brave does not erase the obligation to be prepared. There was a critical balance between enthusiasm and realism, and she needed to find her footing. As she engaged in dialogues that challenged her thinking, Maria began to realize that true leadership was forged not just by the vision one carries but also by the tactical choices made to pursue that vision. Finally, the day came when she would present her refined concept to Janet again, now with insights from these discussions and a clearer strategy in place. The stakes were high, and apprehension rattled within her. Would Janet acknowledge this evolution, or would she still cast doubt on Maria's capabilities? As Maria stood before Janet, ready to articulate her journey of introspection and the concrete plans that followed, she felt a wave of resolve wash over her. For once, she was prepared to face the possibility of criticism while simultaneously embracing her vision. Today, she would not seek approval, she would declare her intentions. The moment felt pregnant with significance. Stepping into the role she had long envisioned, she was about to find out if today would mark the commencement of her transformation or become another lesson in resilience. And no matter the outcome, she understood this was just the beginning. What awaited Maria at the intersection of ambition and vulnerability as she prepared to unveil her authentic self? Maria inhaled deeply, the air tasted sweet with determination and uncertainty. She stood across from Janet, her palms slightly clammy as she steadied herself for this pivotal moment. Today was different. Today, she wouldn't just seek approval, she would own her ambitions and share her journey of growth. Thank you for meeting with me again, Janet. Her voice trembled a little but was laced with conviction. Janet's gaze was piercing, a blend of curiosity and scrutiny. I'm eager to hear how your ideas have evolved. With careful precision, Maria began to articulate her refined initiative. Over the past few weeks, I've actively engaged with mentors and industry professionals. This dialogue helped me evaluate the challenges and necessary steps to bring my vision to fruition. As she spoke, every word empowered her further. She illustrated her framework, combining grassroots health initiatives with local community needs assessments, strategic partnerships, and workshops. Janet leaned in as Maria recounted the conversations with her advisors, the insights gained, and how each exchange had sharpened her focus. Janet nodded, a flicker of encouragement crossing her features. You sound more grounded than before. But let us address something. Are you ready to execute this plan under scrutiny? Challenges will arise, and not all feedback will be constructive. A rush of adrenaline surged through Maria as she met her mentor's probing gaze. I am ready, she asserted, her voice steady. I understand that obstacles will come, but every setback will only serve to refine my approach. My passion for making a genuine impact drives me to embrace the scrutiny. Janet regarded her thoughtfully, a hint of appreciation dawning in her expression. This is a pivotal shift. You're not just showing courage, you're demonstrating a commitment to understanding the complexities involved in leading a project like this. But remember, accountability is crucial. Maria nodded, feeling the weight of Janet's words sink in. Accountability would become the foundation on which she built her dream. As the two women delved deeper into the plans, Janet proffered strategic insights that began to weave together the strategic and the idealistic into a practicable tapestry. When the meeting reached its conclusion, Janet leaned back, folding her arms with a smile. I must admit, Maria, I see potential in your project. Let us work on developing a more comprehensive proposal to share with potential partners. You've come a long way. Relief flooded through Maria as she absorbed Janet's words. Not only had she proved herself, but she felt an exhilarating sense of validation. She was no longer the hesitant novice but emerged as a confident leader ready to steer her project into existence. Leaving the cafe, the city pulsed with life around her, a stark contrast to the uncertainty that had once enveloped her existence. With renewed vigor, she could envision a future sculpted by her hands, not merely dreamed of in fleeting moments of courage. The days that followed were marked by productive enthusiasm. Maria engaged with community leaders and organized meetings with health organizations. Each conversation reinforced her belief that her initiative could indeed make a real difference. She wasn't just filling gaps, she was constructing bridges. But then, just as optimism began to take root, another message arrived from the mysterious number that haunted her. Nice to see you're making progress, Maria. Remember, every step you take could also bring consequences. Don't underestimate the shadows. Despite the chill that crept down her spine, Maria dismissed the ominous tone. She had faced and overcome darker days. The shadows would not swallow her aspirations whole. Instead of retreating, she reached deep into her sense of agency and steadied herself against the tempest. I will not be intimidated, she whispered, determination rising within her. I will continue to build. As she sent out her finalized proposal to a network of partners, a sense of solidity surged through her. Maria poured herself into the project with unyielding diligence. Every late night spent refining her plans felt rewarding. Each person she connected with unfolded new possibilities, filling her budding endeavor with a renewed sense of purpose. Finally, after weeks of efforts, a meeting was set with a prominent local health foundation. Maria felt the anticipation electrifying the air around her as she entered the boardroom. Today was not solely about her initiative, it was about standing firm in her conviction of what could be achieved. As she navigated through her presentation, the board members listened intently. They engaged with thoughtful questions, yet Maria sensed a hesitation lingering in the air. It was time for her to confront the looming shadows. She took a deep breath, projecting confidence as she leaned into the depth of her knowledge. While the journey remains complex, the community faces unmatched challenges in healthcare access. This initiative addresses those fundamental needs with strategic outreach, ensuring every individual receives the compassionate care they deserve. Every participant's gaze fixed on her, their expressions a blend of consideration and intrigue. As the session closed, they praised her passion, resilience, and the depth of her proposal. But despite their compliments, Maria felt an unsettling hint of skepticism. "I appreciate your passion for nurturing this community," one board member started, "but are you prepared to lead a project of this scale? The road will be arduous." At that moment, every doubt Maria had ever harbored surfaced like a tempest. Her heart raced, and for a fleeting moment, she felt the weight of those uncertainties. However, she refused to yield. "I am prepared," she asserted with a steadiness that surprised even herself. "Through this process, I've grown significantly. I know the challenges, and I'm willing to adapt, learn, and evolve in this role." The sounds of their discussions painted a transformative picture. They wished to invest in her project, believing in her capacity to lead despite the shadows that loomed behind her. When the meeting ended, Maria stepped out into the fresh air, inhaling deeply as the enormity of what had just transpired washed over her. She had navigated uncharted waters, embraced vulnerability, and emerged with newfound resilience. As her phone buzzed once more, a message from Janet lit up her screen. "Well done, Maria. Looks like you've truly transformed your ambitions into reality. Keep pushing the boundaries, this is just the beginning of what you're capable of achieving." With determination reborn, Maria smiled. She had not only confronted her doubts but also conquered the shadows. This was a moment of individual triumph. She stood rooted in her purpose, ready to embrace the journey ahead, knowing this was just the prologue to the incredible chapters yet to unfold. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now, this is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.